My name is Margo Royer. I'm from Du Bois, Pennsylvania. I am currently a full-time federal employee working as a civilian for the Department of Defense near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I hold a secret-level security clearance, and I've held this military administrative position for over 3 years. I've had various federal positions in the Harrisburg area since 2002. I've been in the military with no breaks of service for the past 26 years. For many years since the initial injustice I experienced that I'm here to speak about, I've had to fight a continuous battle with multiple types of corruption from various sources, from various persons, and from various agencies, all of whom have unconditionally supported this nationally known defendant in any agenda in the pursuit of justice. This defendant, with their absolute unlimited resources and their deep gold-lined pockets, have called upon their supporters and called upon their alumni, fully knowing they can utilize the unquestioned, unconditional, blind loyalty in these resources that they have always been confident that they will have. These resources have included union officials, arbitrators, government agencies, civil child care service agencies, business professionals, administrators, educational professionals, civil rights agencies, legal service agencies, doctors, lawyers, and not surprisingly, the judges. The extent and magnitude of this intentional cover-up has been like one of taking on an arm wrestling match with an octopus, whose sole mission being only to take down and to literally exasperate the breath out of its adversary. It is a creature that perpetuates itself only to continue in its own eminent domain, sucking the life out of and devouring that which may be unfortunate enough to have come into its way. It continues to manipulate and camouflage, giving off the most graceful of appearances, overreaching and stretching into multiple types of corruption and extending from this large major university, a university that's currently in the news, the Pennsylvania State University. Very recently, on Thursday, July 12, 2012, I was once again denied any justifiable cause, denied access to our state and federal courts. My motion to reopen in the United States Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit was denied by Circuit Judge Dolores K. Sloviter without explanation. A lengthy, oppressive, and prevailing influence has been covertly executed behind our backs by those who would have us believe they are true model human beings for the principles of honor. This undisciplined anchor of dissent, a common core material that each judicial bench appears to have been built upon, was intended to squelch and to conceal the truth and to provide a continued empowerment for the denial of justice. I am both a former full-time student and a former full-time employee of the Penn State University. Over the years, I attended 3 college branch campuses of Penn State, beginning soon after I completed high school. As an employee, I was employed both part-time and in full-time work-study statuses, and in one full-time status at several branch campuses of the university. This ranged from 1979 to 1999. I was offered a grade 10 technical service security position by the Du Bois campus administration in Du Bois, Pennsylvania in November of 1992. I applied for the locally advertised position because it was a type of duty that that was not new to me, cleaning and pulling late-night security after having completed basic training in the military. The position at Penn State would allow me to work towards getting my degree, allowing to both work and attend classes at Penn State. As a direct employment benefit of the full-time employment at Penn State, I was entitled to receive the employment tuition reduction benefit. Combined with the contracted educational benefit that I had through the military, through my military extension, this was a very lucrative offer, the type of offer that many hope for. As a direct employment benefit of Penn State, I was also entitled to that tuition benefit, which during the mid-1980s, tuition benefits were a carefully planned contractual agreement and a key factor why so many soldiers enlisted in the reserves. And as I say, until 1999, I worked for Penn State for a period of 7 years. In August of 1994, John Lucchini, Director of Financial Affairs of the Du Bois campus, informed me the Du Bois campus was going to lay off at least one worker on the midnight shift. Having the least seniority, I was told I would transfer to the main campus if I chose to do so. This was a daily 2.5-hour commute to work back and forth, which put an end to my taking classes. My shift began at 0600 every Saturday and Sunday morning on this new assignment, which ended a lot more than my just taking classes. My fiance and I separated at that point, and we separated for good. I was 35 years old and I was single. I met someone new, and I chose to become a single parent during my employment period while I was at University Park. Until someone retired from the Du Bois campus, creating an opening, I worked in the housing department in the Pollock area and was transferred there for 2 years until August of 1996. When that opening did come open, I returned to the Du Bois campus and bought the same small house I had hoped to buy several years before. I began my legal pursuit in January of 1999, over 13 years ago. I've spent over $100,000 in legal fees throughout the course of these years in my persistence to be heard, but I was never permitted to have my day in court. However, for some reason, I was not expected to return to the Du Bois campus, be it that I now had a child or what. Other employees had the expectation the job opening was going to be going to a union steward, Roger Curley's brother, or if not his brother, his brother-in-law. After all, his sister-in-law was now the director of admissions at the campus, and the boss had made her a promise. Roger Curley told me I had taken a good job away from his relative, and that he found this to be offensive. It was quite obvious I was resented while working as the only female maintenance employee at the campus. A year later, in the fall of 1997, I was accepted in the brand new 2-year certified occupational therapy program at the Du Bois campus. And as I said, the brand new program, this was a very new program to Penn State, and they just initiated it that year. I would have been one of the first of that graduating class. I did very well that year, and my grades were well above passing. Despite all the stress of going to school on a 3/4-time basis, working full-time, and having a very young child, and maintaining a home. I was succeeding, but I was still resented, and it was becoming obvious that deliberate attempts were being made to pull the rug out from under me in both my degree program and in my employment. Going into my second year of the degree program, I was encountering problems with an employee or two at the clinical field sites that I had to attend. This was a pass or fail class, and each student was assigned a grade at the end of that day. They were given that grade written on a piece of paper to take with them. There was no guessing whether or not you had passed or failed when you left the clinical field work. My legal dilemma has begun over this grade. I received a telephone call late in August in 1998 telling me to come into the campus early that day, come in prior to starting work, and to report to the campus executive officer's office. I arrived with my 2-year-old daughter, having no idea what the meeting would be about. My daughter sat on my lap, and I found it to be extremely odd that for some reason the CEO was trying to coax my daughter into coming over and sitting with her to sit on her lap. I was handed a piece of paper showing I had arrived at academic failure, this with my child sitting on my lap. I was being removed from my degree program based on a grade that I had never seen before, based on this piece of paper that was just now handed to me, which said I failed. I advised the CEO this had to be a mistake. I had passed the field work, and I would bring in my proof later that day. At the very least, I've been a victim of unfortunate timing and circumstances. Through the timing of events, I discovered in the recent free investigation and report there are very strong suggestions that the likelihood that there is a direct correlation to a horrible, unethical solution to a problem with Penn State University regarding their non-compliance with state mandatory child care clearances. In January 1999, I wrote a letter to the then Penn State University President Graham Spanier by the suggestion of the student advocate Jose Texidor. I requested President Spanier's help with this very innocent matter. Mr. Spanier reiterated that he could not help me. He could not help me with this matter, being that the dean, Dr. John Kerr, from the Office of the Provost, University Park, had determined I must hire an attorney if I wished to take this matter further. I began my legal pursuit in January of 1999, over 13 years ago, and I have spent over $100,000 in legal fees throughout the course of these years in my persistence to be heard, but I was never permitted to have my day in court. I was charged exorbitant fees by many of the attorneys with the goal of destroying my ability to fight Penn State. I was played by several unethical attorneys as though being blackmailed through the collection of these fees with the continual threat of them withdrawing as my legal counsel. 2 attorneys have proven to have direct conflicts of interest with the 2 defendants in my lawsuit, charged me over $75,000 for their work and destroyed the lawsuit while going through all the legal motions. Later, even the Pennsylvania State Disciplinary Board evaded taking corrective action.